It doesn't matter if you've got 10 guys coming to your church or 10,000 men coming to your church. The number, it doesn't matter. That's the beauty behind this. It can be reproducible in every parking lot, in every church in America. I mean, that's the thing. We're not trying to reproduce Sunday mornings. Anytime we try to produce other events, what are we doing? They're just trying to recreate Sunday morning. It's like, look, if they want to go to Sunday morning, they go to Sunday morning. Here, it needs to be different.
Yeah, there are more young men in churches today than young women. First time in American history. There is a movement back. I don't know if we're doing it better. I don't know if guys are just getting tired of the lies they're being told by our culture. And I think the best way for guys to interact, especially guys that aren't church guys, is get them around a fire, get them to the table. That might be the secret sauce, bro. How do I not understand that until just recently? Oh, everything Jesus did, he seemed to bring people to the table. So if these guys are going to move to a biblical model of church, how do they attract the men?
Right.
What do they do? I mean, help me.
Go to...
Hey guys, got my good friend Glen Dry here, and Glen is out of Southern Texas, where he is in charge of something called Man Ministries, and he started a church that was originally called Sportsman's Church. It's now called E320. So if you can hit me up and let me know what you think that stands for, maybe we'll send you some swag just to say thanks. So Glen, good to have you on the show, brother.
Great to be
Good to
here.
see you. You were one of our OGs, man. You were on the show back in maybe 18.
It was a while back.
It's been a long time. In fact, I think you might not have been gray.
I was.
I don't think you were gray when you were on the show.
I probably wasn't.
I think it was a mustache only and no beard, and
It's No Shave November, man.
see, there you go. Well, you're going to be in the deer stand on Saturday, so you got
That's
to
right.
do a little bit of
Gotta
love
bulk
there.
up a
So
little bit.
great to have you on the show, man. So tell me what's going on since we last met. What Man Ministries is doing multiple things, and then your church is doing multiple things. Tell us about some of these things.
Well, I think the major wheelhouse is what we're really seeing expand and really getting some traction is for 20 years we've been doing steak events or steak nights, and it's a simple concept, right? You just get a pit out, get a fire out, tell the guys to bring their own meat, and so it's almost a no-cost event, and then some paper plates and some seasoning. Like really, it's a meat event. Like that's it. It's dudes. Like there's no salad. It's like it's not allowed, and so it's not allowed. And it's just to come around the pit. And what we found in the last 20 years, man, we were bringing guys around that pit, and we'd have anywhere from sometimes there were a couple hundred guys that showed up, and it was so we had to get multiple pits. And then what's fun over the years, some of those guys have gone out into different communities around us. One went to actually help a church get replanted and get started that we helped him. One's actually a business owner in another community now. So he started a steak event in his warehouse, and so that his company owns. And he just invites anyone and everyone to come, and he'll have 75 to 100 guys in his warehouse, man. And then he'll have a guy like you come or me come or anyone and just say, hey, let's just share maybe 5-10 minutes, man, of your story. And then like maybe where's the evidence of God recently in your life? And so it's just very brief, nothing, no extended, there's no sermons allowed, kind of deal. And some do invite a guy to bring a guitar, and some are around campfire. Most of them are outdoors. And then some of them are inside like him in the warehouse. And then another guy, Toby, he's out in the country in the middle of nowhere in between two little bitty towns. And he'll have anywhere from 75 to 100 guys too at his steak night. And he's doing them every month. We were doing one a quarter. Now we're doing 3 a year. And then another young guy that came through Man Ministries and was coming to some of our groups and studies, he went out and now he's become a pastor at a small church. And he just did his second one. And he's already having 35 to 40 guys show up to this church, okay, that only had about 15 guys coming, like to church on a regular basis. And now, just because of these steak events and these meat events, he's already got double the amount of guys showing up on his campus at this little country church that's now almost doubling and tripling in size, all because of meat on a pit with a fire, man. And that's just to see some of that and the traction that it's gaining for us just recently, that's probably happened in the last 3 years for us, last 36 months, because those guys came, tasted it, saw it, and they're like, well, I can do this. Anybody can do it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what context you're in. You got a pit, you got some fire and some coals. And the fun thing about it is, they're like, well, man, I can't afford buying that much meat. I'm like, I didn't ask you to buy any meat. the guys are going to bring meat. And then now what you see happen is you bring 2 or 3. I'll bring 2 or 3, and then I'll bring some of my deer sausage and I'll throw it on, and I'll cook deer sausages and give snacks to guys as they're walking up, and they're like, I didn't expect that, man. That's pretty nice.
And you were saying that in your experience, a lot of these guys show up, they have no idea how to cook a steak.
Yeah, I have learned. And a lot of these guys are like me, okay? I didn't grow up in an environment where I watched somebody cook steaks all the time. It just didn't happen in my world growing up. And so what's fun about that is some of these guys, and even younger guys, will come in, and you can just tell. It's written all over their face, like, I really don't know what's going on, And then another older guy will come alongside him, and he'll teach him what a medium steak looks like. I mean, one of the funnest times of my life, I was in college. I went down to have lunch with my aunt, and we went out for lunch, and we were going to have just a good one-on-one together. And we're sitting there talking, and she orders steak, and she goes, how do you want yours cooked? And I'm like, well done. And she looked at me, she goes, well, then you're buying. And I was like, oh, come on. I was like, come on. And I'm like, so what's it going to take for you to buy it? She goes, you need to have a steak with some taste, with some actual flavor in it. And I'm like,
well done gets no respect. I'm telling you, a well done steak is, hey, if you eat a well done steak within the first 10 minutes, you're good. Yeah. But otherwise it loses, but it does lose bad. Something.
And so she said, hey, you're going to have a medium steak. So for the first time in my life when I was in college.
You can't beat a medium steak.
Oh, man, it was like, wow.
Ribeye, bone in, come on.
What have I been missing? And so I got that experience, and so I'm thinking, man, I know there's other young guys out there like me, and I mean, it can be intimidating. And so the fun part about it is we've learned that these guys come, and not only are you're sitting and watching dozens and dozens of guys around a pit, right? I mean, that's why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden this guy meets this guy, and this guy didn't know, and then all of a sudden, they're in an off conversation over here talking about, where they're coming, what they do and where they came from. And so the beauty of it is just right now, actually in about 30 days, on December 19th, we're going to have our first regional steak night. So it's going to be like everybody within about 45 to 60 miles that does one of these is coming to our ranch.
Wow.
In Victoria. And so we're probably expecting about 250 men to show up to this steak event. But I invited all the key men of those that have started theirs to come together and just inspire. So that way this guy over here can meet this guy and this guy all within a 60-mile radius, because you just never know when those dudes are going to move to another community, or whenever those guys may meet somebody in business and go, hey, I know some guys that live over on that part of the world. Hey, you need to go meet those guys. So anyway, that is coming alive right now in the next 3 weeks.
Well, it's interesting. So I'm a barbecuer. And when I say barbecue, I mean over a wood fire, open flame, none of this smoking stuff, none of this coal stuff. Anyway, but I'll cook 20. I love to argue with Texans about that. Anyway,
all good.
But I think you already got it, because you already said open flame. So I make my own seasoning. We do Santa Maria style. I haul a trailer in. It's got about an 85-inch grill that goes up and down with gears. But I never thought. I'm going to confess this to you. I never thought about letting the guys cook their own steaks. I've always done it because it's what I'm passionate about.
Right.
But I'm going to do an event this year. I'm doing it this year in Oregon, where I'm going to have the guys come and make their own steaks and teach them how. Teach them teach them to never use a thermometer. Here's what right here, right? Uh-huh. Use this. Here's what a medium steak looks like. Here's what medium rare is. Here's what meat rare is. Here's what well is.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid of a well done steak. Personally, I'm not afraid of a well done steak. I think you better eat it fast. If you want to take any home, just throw it in the trash.
Right.
But you can take a medium home and eat it later. So that talks to a bigger issue. It talks about this issue of men in church.
Right.
Men will show up at this kind of event that's put on by a church, at a church, near a church, in a church, but they won't show up to church. And we, today, I don't know if you know this, Glenn, but statistics just came out. You know how much polls count nowadays, but there are more young men in churches today than young women. First time in American history. There is a movement back. I don't know if we're doing it better. I don't know if guys are just getting tired of the lies they're being told by our culture and our media and academia. What do we need to do? And your church focuses on drawing in men. It was initially called the Sportsman's Church. Now it's E320.
Right.
What do we have to do? And I'm not shaming pastors.
Sure.
I think pastors really want to grow their church. They want to find a way.
Right.
They've been raised up in an era that says put money in your budget for women and children.
Right.
And Sunday mornings. Mm-hmm. But the Bible, whenever God starts out to do a great work, he always starts with men. So the biblical model has to start with men. So if these guys are going to move to a biblical model of church, how do they attract the men?
Right.
What do they do? I mean, help me.
Go to the meat section at their grocery store. go to the meat section.
I feel like I'm an evangelist right now.
Yeah, you go to the meat section at your grocery store, man, and you really pick out and I'm saying, like, not just pick out any steak, but man, pick out these steaks. But and to me, it speaks to most men, not all men, because I mean, not every guy's into all this world, but a lot of times, guys, if we can just get them to the parking lot, right? I mean, that's all I'm asking. Just get to the parking lot. I'm not asking you to come in the doors, right? And that's what I try to teach the church.
In the parking lot, that's what the pits are.
The pits are in the parking lot, all right? We're not coming inside the church. We're not asking the guy to come inside the walls yet, all right? We're going to have church, quote unquote, outside the walls, right, in the parking lot. And so and we're not going to give them a sermon either. I mean, that's the thing. We're not trying to reproduce Sunday mornings. That's the biggest issue with men coming to church or men in the church is anytime we try to produce other events, what are we doing? They're just trying to recreate Sunday morning. It's like, look, if they want to go to Sunday morning, they'll go to Sunday morning. Here, it needs to be different and unique. And it doesn't need to, don't do the same things you're doing over there, because obviously it's not getting the results you want, right? You may be pulling in a lot of women and a lot of families and kids, right? But I'm going after men who don't show up. I'm going after men who don't want to come in, and they're disenfranchised. Men that, they're either found out, or, got fired, or, man, they're just in a rough spot. But they'll come to my parking lot because some dude said, hey, I'm going to get to buy you a steak, man, 6 o'clock tonight. We're going to be in the parking lot. And they're like, game on, man. Meat's not cheap either.
No.
And so when our guys show up, to that, I've met new men every time. There's not one time I've been doing this for 20 years, like 2 decades. And I've always met new men and been able to introduce them to another guy. And the dream always is, man, I really hope those guys are in the taco shop next week sharpening each other. And so it's always trying to produce something or be able to create an environment to where these guys, the mask can freaking come off, right? The mask can come off, all the junk can come off, and they can be like, man, okay. Over meat, typically, my gosh, every time we turn around, Jesus has got food around. He made fish tacos for his men, crying out.
Everything he did seemed to be at the table.
There was a lot of stuff.
I want you to go. I'm going to your house for dinner. Simon's house. It's always dinner. The Last Supper.
There's food everywhere. Food everywhere. And my favorite story is him cooking fish tacos on the beach. When his guys are out there and it's after his resurrection.
Man, I hope those are fish tacos. I'm going to go with that. New Living Translation.
Somewhere in that translation, I don't know which one it is. But how
But
genuine,
if there was probably bread involved, there's always fish and bread when Jesus is around.
How genuine is that he's watching the men? Man, it gets me. He's sitting there, no telling how long he'd watched them, and how long he just sat there and watched them struggle. And they went back to doing what they knew, fishing, right? That's what they knew, and they were grieving, man. They didn't know which end was up, man. They're like, did he really do what he said he did? Is this for real? Is this legit? And they see a dude on the shoreline, and I just want to imagine that he'd probably been there for, man, many, many moments.
Yes.
And just probably I just want to imagine him having a smile on his face and looking at his guys and being like, man, and if they're going to get it. They're going to get it, and they're going to see it. And then they get the fellowship over fish, because that's what they did then, right? That was their meat, right?
Yeah.
Well, we don't really fellowship much over meat. Over fish, right? It's mainly over something that's red and dead. And so it is what it is. And for the church today, there's very few things that you and I could possibly go to a man and go, man, I want you to come with me on this, right? To where he probably isn't going to feel ambushed, right? Or he's not going to feel like somebody's coming out of right field and go, man, what did you set me up for?
Yeah.
Because in the back of a lot of guys' minds, they're thinking, this probably isn't what you're telling me it is, at the end of the day. And so and this is so good, because it doesn't matter if you've got 10 guys coming to your church or 10,000 men coming to your church. The number, it doesn't matter. That's the beauty behind this. It can be reproducible in every parking lot in every church in America, and so because somebody's got a freaking pit.
We've been doing a service for men every Wednesday for the last 3 years now.
Okay.
And once every 6 weeks, we do a meat event. We don't know what it's called. It's just a meat event. There's a meat, MEAT. And this week was it was a brat night. We had brats, and we had my barbecue pit cooked probably 200 brats. It was the most enjoyable night I've ever had with these guys. Just sat around this big fire pit, well, it was a barbecue pit, but now it's a bonfire.
Right.
Just talking. And I'll tell you what, in recent days, I've really been moved by how often Jesus used food. It was come to the dinner, come to the table, come to the plate. Mm-hmm. I never thought of that. He didn't say come to the church. He said come to the table.
Very rarely was he ever.
Think about all the food.
Think about it. I mean, you start looking the context of it. Very rarely do we hear any of the stories that were in the synagogue. I mean, they weren't.
Yeah.
They were on the street, or they were in a home,
Yeah.
or somebody's backyard, or in the wilderness, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at all the stories and look at the percentage of all of them, and like how many were those were actually in the church.
Yeah, I've been reading the Bible. Bro, I've read the Bible cover to cover 30 times. I mean, I've read the Gospels 1,000 times. I mean, how do I not understand that until just recently? Oh, everything Jesus did, he seemed to bring people to the table. Mm-hmm. There seemed to be a meal involved. Wait a second. Maybe we can implement that in our ministry to men. Maybe we can implement that with our neighborhood.
Right.
I think there's something to this, bro. Like,
there is.
Don't you think?
Yeah, there definitely is something to it, and it's not. The fun part about it is anyone can do it. Like any guy that especially like you, man. I mean, there's always a guy like you that loves to cook.
Yeah,
right?
I love to kill him, grill him, chill him, all of it.
The whole 9 yards, right? And so you are the advanced party because I mean you're like this is what I can do this in my sleep. Right?
I get great joy out of cooking meat for people.
So imagine that joy factor times 10 because all of a sudden you're seeing 3, 4, 5, 10 other guys get what, because you have it. You can give them what you possess.
Yeah.
You know, and so because I just read that, I just listened to that in your book, by the way, and I've been telling men for that for 10 years. I listened to it on the way.
Wait, that was the gentleness chapter.
That was
right. Was it the gentleness? You can't give.
You can't give what you don't possess, and I've been telling men that for 20 years. You know, and I'm going, man, did he get that from me? No, I'm just kidding. And,
hey, the art of originality, man. Not revealing your sources.
Amen. That's right. I'm at least giving you some credit because you reminded me of it on the way here.
I appreciate that,
and
bro.
I tell you, man, this is not a time to like. Promote your dialed in, but I'm just telling you, man, I'm sending it to some of my main guys because I'm like, hey, he speaks your language, and I'm just because that's when when I'm listening to something or reading something, I'm thinking of other guys in my mind going, this will resonate with him, like especially with Weatherby doing your forward. You know, I'm thinking there's a few guys that I'm going, man, this will really speak to them and their heart, and they'll get it. And you did a great job, and so
I appreciate that. I'm learning that that's my superpower. Like listen, man. I know how to speak man, but you would think every man could speak man, but they don't.
No, they don't.
I mean, but I can speak man. Yeah, I don't know, and you can speak man. I don't know. It's weird.
It works, and there's some things obviously because of what we're doing here we can't say in other contexts we could.
Yeah.
There's other things that I allow to roll when there's not a camera in my face.
Yes.
You know, or around us, and especially over a pit. You know, there's some things that can be said that don't need to be said, you know, in other contexts, but a guy gets it and he can see that and he goes, man, I didn't expect that to like that resonate. Like I get that. Like that speaks what I speak.
You can be yourself and not bring churchianity.
Don't even use it. Don't even use it, and don't even have to even go there. And I've been a pastor for 10 years.
So isn't that maybe what a guy, you know, I believe that you're never fully the man that God has called you to be without radical devotion to Jesus. Like that's when I became I hit the apex of Christianity of manhood when I gave my life to Christ and I'm seeking Jesus. But that's not what men outside the church think. Mm-hmm. They're thinking that if you go to church, you're going to be less of a man.
Right.
And it isn't until we get at an event like this where they get to see us interacting in our natural habitat.
Right. Well, they're not a bunch of sissies.
Yes.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, you know, and I was even thinking through this the other day. It's like not everybody's got polished shoes, man, and a tie walking through these doors. But a lot of guys grew up in that world, in context. Yeah. And so they're like, I don't want anything to do with that, you know? And so you and I come into it like this, and we invite them to the parking lot, not necessarily into the walls. And most men have that in the back of their mind, and they're going, well, I just don't know if I'm going to go there, you know? And if I'm even going to come or participate in something like that, because the last thing I want to do is go back or get invited to church. You know, I'm not inviting you to church. I'm
inviting you to the table.
I just want to come to the table. Yeah, just come to the table. And then from that experience, then there may be an invitation 3, 6, 9 months. Or what's awesome is the guys are say, hey, I've seen this happen time and time again, where I'll watch guys talking off, you know, around the pit, and eventually one of them will say, you know, and ask a guy, hey, where do you go to church? And I'm like, it's just part of it, I mean, it's just like, where do you go, or because multiple guys come in from different settings, and they're like, well, man, maybe. And I've listened to these conversations over and over again. They're like, man, maybe I'll see you next Sunday, or whatever it may be. And that's exactly because all you're trying to do is just bring them to the table and then let everything else take care of itself. Right.
But it's where guys can share, hey, how's your marriage? It just magic happens there.
Well, the two magic ingredients that you speak of are, I think, and you may hit on this too in your book, I think, and I've been teaching this for years, is respect and trust.
Oh, respect.
Because a guy comes over there and he gains an amazing amount of respect, but then when you teach him to do what you can do, all of a sudden your stock goes up. And it's not just coming to an event now. Now I'm leaving and I can go do this myself. And I can actually do this for other people now. I can cook whatever this guy cooked me, and I can reproduce something now. I'm just not showing up to an event. Now I've actually taken something from it and grown from it. And now, so all of a sudden, with your stock going up with that guy, he looks at you differently whenever the invitation does come down the road, to where you may 2 or 3 other meat events or steak events where you're going, hey man, you want to come, Wednesday night we have or what we do is we have an off men's group, we have a man-to-man group on Thursday night. And so that's what we do, is we invite them to come back, and we intentionally do our steak nights on the same nights we have our man-to-man men's night. So they're all lined up.
Oh,
yeah. So then we go, hey, if any of you guys want to show up back here, we got to, guys are going to be right back here, same place.
That's what we do with our meat. That's what we do with our stuff
right.
too.
So you just line it up. Consistency is the key.
Yeah.
And as you do that, and more and more, that's what the biggest reason I think the church. I mean, I've been planting churches for 10 years.
We're not bad mouthing the church.
Not
here.
at all.
We love the church.
Not at
we
all.
both are very
more
involved.
churches are getting it today than they ever.
I agree, 100%.
Ever in the history.
I agree.
It's unbelievable to see what the local churches are doing today with men. Like it really is. I mean, it's on a scale like no other. We're getting to see it in our generation.
Yep.
It's what we prayed about 20 years ago.
It's what we've been striving for decades.
That's right. And now we're here. We're getting to see some of the fruit of it. And now it's just like, okay, now that we're here, right? Now that we have, like you said, statistically, more young guys are showing up than young women.
Yeah.
All right, now what are we going to do with them? Like, how are we going to really integrate these guys into really life, man-to-man discipleship, really iron sharpening, activities where we're just not blowing smoke up each other's, there's going to come a time where you see things because you're praying that way. Your heart's bent that direction where you're looking for an opportunity. We teach a man to look for an opportunity to be like, all right, that guy's going to have something about his life that you're going to be able to dive into, whatever it may be. And you may not even like it. You don't have to like it, right? Mm-hmm. You just have to know where you want to take it, and as long as I'm being genuine in that conversation and really wanting to get to know who that guy is and what he's all about, then my stock keeps going up, right? And that's the thing with it. Most guys walk in and there's just not a lot of investment. There really isn't. It's like, okay, you're going to come here, sit down, shut up, check a box, and move on. A lot of church world still operates like that, and unfortunately, a lot of men's groups operate like that. And I even attend some. I just pop in, and it's one guy dominating the whole time.
Yeah, that's
right?
fun.
And and I'm sitting there thinking, 9 other guys sat here the whole time and never said a word.
Yep.
Right? And I'm going...
That's a horrible model. Or plug the video in and watch it for 20 minutes.
Right.
Bad move, bro.
Bad move.
We do a 20, 30-minute message, put the guys at tables for an hour.
Yeah.
That's their group.
That's the magic.
I set the tee, I put on the tee, let those guys hit it.
And you tee it up. And
100%.
You tee up the discussion. And so the mod, we need to kill that model, because I do struggle, and I hear that, or I'll come to a guy will invite me into his church, and I'll just say, hey, let me just show up to some stuff. Let me just observe what's going on. And you got the one guy that God bless him, man. He's good at what he does. But unfortunately, what he's really bad at is engaging the other 10 guys in the room and letting them share their stories.
Well,
and unpacking that.
Because that one guy thinks he's the hero. You're just the guide, bro.
Yeah.
You're guiding them. They're the hero.
Yeah.
Their guide. You're letting that. Oh, it just
let them pull the trigger.
Well, you said respect, and so I think, and this is in my book, I think respect is the greatest gift that one man can give another man.
Amen.
Honestly.
Amen.
The reason you're here, right there, is respect. The reason you came is respect.
Right.
It's respect.
Right.
And as I trust you, my respect goes up.
Yep.
And if you lose that, they work. Don't you think that respect and trust work hand in hand?
Yes, sir.
They work hand in hand. Thanks for calling me sir, by the way. I'm just kidding, man. I'm messing with you. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like I know you're in the South. Where I come from, you call me sir, it means I'm going to go cut wood for you.
My dad says, my dad said that's my dad. Don't call me that. And I'm like, well,
I'm just messing.
I'm going to call you that because that's just what I do.
Oh man, well hey, I man, unfortunately we've got to go eat barbecue.
Yes, sir.
But
sorry. There I am again. Pulling the sir card.
I've been saying sir though lately too to people because I went to Mississippi or Alabama for conference. I picked that up, ma'am, sir. I'm like, oh
yeah.
The young gals look at me. I'm like this old guy saying yes, ma'am. They're like, well, I'm 14, or whatever. No, man, that's good. I think that respect is important, and I think the best way for guys to interact, especially guys that aren't church guys, is get them around a fire, get them to the table.
Yeah.
That might be the secret sauce, bro.
I think so.
So I appreciate. So hey, Glenn, listen, you got a lot going on. Southern Texas, on the Gulf, Victoria.
Yes, sir.
Right. How do guys, if they want to tap into how you're doing, kind of your man church stuff, and how you're in there? I mean, you got a lot going on. What's the best way for them to tap into what you're doing?
Man, they could just hit us up on social or go to our website. Old school, right? I mean, we still have a website. And
websites are the thing. They're back, baby.
If they are, I don't know. We don't touch ours very often, so I apologize. But it's easy to find me. We've been out there for 20 plus years now, so it's not hard. You can put my name in, Glen with one N, Dry, D-R-Y. It's easy. It's like the weather most of the time. And or you can look at Man Discipleship. You can find that and put it in Texas, and you'll obviously pull us up. And we can definitely come alongside anyone at any time, anywhere to help them move the needle a little bit.
So, what is your website address?
I think it's Man Discipleship. It's a lot. It's a lot of letters, but it's
You only have to type it in once.
.org, and then it's over. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, let's go eat some barbecue.
Let's do it.
We get to practice what we preach right here, brother.
All right,
man.
Thank you.